Hello viewers, you welcome to another news hour on Jamano Media and Products. We first begin with our headlines. The Independent Electoral Commission declines to comment on calls for National People's Party suspension. Transport fares to go up as government strikes deal with the Gambia Transport Union. Man charged with homosexuality. Public health workers begin strike. Those were the headlines. We now have the news in detail. The Independent Electoral Commission has declined to comment on calls by Right to Know Coalition Gambia, a civil society group, for it to suspend the governing National People's Party for failing to hold a Congress within 2 years as required by the Elections Act. In 2019, the Independent Electoral Commission suspended the National Convention Party because it could not hold a united progress under Section 127 of the Elections Act. The group, which consists of human rights activists, had therefore demanded the Independent Electoral Commission to explain why it has turned a blind eye to a clear violation of the Elections Amendment established as a bona fide political party on the 2019 under the hand and stamp of approval of the Independent Electoral Commission, but had failed to hold a Congress as required by the law. But when contacted for comments, the Independent Electoral Commission Chief Electoral Officer Sambujan Jai not only refused to comment on the matter, but also picked a quarrel with them. He said he will not talk on this matter because the last time they called their spokesperson who granted them an interview, but that did not satisfy them. So they decided to call the chairman because they were not comfortable with the reaction they get from the spokesperson. You did not like that because anything any one of us talks to you about there, we have already discussed it among themselves. So being a journalist doesn't mean people should talk to you. They have a right not to respond, so he is not talking to you on this matter. Sambujang is referring to an occasion when the Standard called the Independent Electoral Commission chairman on the United Democratic Party's allegations against the commission after they were unsatisfied with the response of the electoral body's spokesperson Parma Kankan. There is going to be a general increment of transport fares in all approved routes nationwide, according to a statement issued by the Ministry of Transport yesterday. According to the ministry, this forms part of an agreement reached between the Gambia Transport Union and other stakeholders in relation to a petition by the GTU. This statement added, the government of the Gambia through the National Security Council and the executive has approved the agreement signed by the above parties for implementation without further delay. The issue agreed on cover the following: general increment of transport fares in all the approved routes nationwide, a reduction of tariff at the Senegambia Bridge, operationalization of the queuing system at the port of Banjul, introduction of route licensing or permit. The main objective of the agreements reached with the General Transport Union is to facilitate the smooth movement of people and goods in the country and beyond. As such, the implementation of the above agreements will be effective Monday, 11th April 2022. The ministry also urged all transporters or operators wishing to ply the routes covered in the route licensing scheme to register on or before Monday, 11th April 2022. The ministry will be responsible for registration, the issuance of permits and stickers by free at various garages across the Greater Banjul area and the West Coast region. The ministry urged drivers to comply with the route licensing scheme's operational framework because failure to do so may attract fines and penalties as prescribed in the Traffic Licensing Act and its regulatory instruments. One Malik Njai, a resident of Latrikunda, German, was yesterday brought before the High Court in Banjul on a single charge of homosexuality. Njai is being charged with aggravated homosexuality contrary to Section 144 A1A of the Criminal Act, Amendment Act 2014 of the Laws of the Gambia. The prosecution alleged that Malik Njai, sometime in 2021 at Latrikunda German, unlawfully had carnal knowledge of a 12-year-old boy through his anus. The case was transferred from Kanifing Magistrate Court recently after it acknowledged that the court lacks jurisdiction to preside over the matter. About 200 public health workers in national health facilities have staged a sit-down strike yesterday over grievances for their delayed inclusion in the newly approved allowances for doctors and PhD holders under the Ministry of Health. Sit-down strikes by healthcare workers have urged in recent years, rising mainly due to poor conditions of services. Last year, nurses and midwives held a sit-down over unpaid allowances, which were preceded by another strike by the COVID-19 frontline workers. This latest strike is organized by the Association of Public and Environmental Health Officers, a registered association of public health professionals in the country. It follows the elapse of their Tuesday deadline. The aggrieved workers are demanding the Ministry of Health and the Personal Management Office to include them in the newly approved allowances scheme as it applies to other cadres. The vice president of the association, Musanget, told the Standard that following their announcement of a planned sit-down strike at a press conference last Saturday, the association was engaged by the ministry for negotiations, but they could not agree on any terms. They have started the sit-down strike on Tuesday 4 p.m. Yes, we had discussions with the ministry yesterday and we told them it is either payment or the strike will continue. We made it clear that there is nothing like negotiation, and if nothing works, all public health services across the country will shut down until the ministry responds to their demands. The Standard contacted the Director of Health Services, Dr. Mustafa Bite, who confirmed that discussions initiated by the government are ongoing and the matter will be resolved soon. They are in engagement with them and it will be sorted out because there is work going on to allowances, Dr. Bite added. Those were the stories for our today's newscast. But before we take a leave of you, let's take a recap on our top stories. The Independent Electoral Commission declines to comment on the calls for National People's Party's suspension. Transport fares to go up as government strikes deal with the Gambia Transport Union. Man charged with homosexuality. Public health workers begin strike. Those were the stories. Thank you for joining us with your presenter, Maria McGillen. Do have a nice day.